because I think that you're wired to bring in some very high voltage, literally. And I think that, not to scare you, but it's like you need to remain grounded on Mother Earth, because you're meant to bring in some very high vibration. If you're not grounded, I think you're still pulling in all this electrical. Good day, my friend and earthly neighbor, and welcome back to another fun, fabulous, filled week of 2017. Well, we are well into March and we are swimming in a Venus retrograde. And Sensei says, now that the coast is clear, it's time for your soul to ascend. From my smartphone to yours, keep streaming for your weekly Namaste today. Welcome to Namaste Today, a spiritual way to begin your weekday. I'm Christopher Witecki, your heartfelt host and your sensei to Sirius Troy. It's so good to see you back. Namaste. Well, my friend, this week is going to be a powerful and spiritual week. We have been swimming in Pisces, quite literally, and we are in a Venus retrograde. That means we are changing our karma, changing our fate, and I believe you are ascending your spiritual story to the next level. In the upcoming summit this week, I'm going to talk about what you can expect and how to ascend. And later, in our tea time, I'm going to talk about a little secret that I've learned from God. But first, let's take a look at today's moods and your 5-day zodiac moodcast. This zodiac weather is from Monday, March 13th to Friday, March 17th. Looking at your 5-day moodcast, it's a rather sunny and spiritual week, with Wednesday being the most cloudy and introverted. Let's take a look. On Monday, it's sunny and rebalancing your life. You'll be finding the big picture for your spiritual story. On Tuesday, it's sunny and healing. You might even find your own personal bliss as the sun crosses Chiron. Wednesday will be cloudy, sacred, and introverted. This is probably the most spiritual day of the transit. On Thursday, it's sunny and decisive. Things get clear and you move forward. Then come Friday, you'll be sunny and literally doing your ascension. Well, this week we're going to be really moving into our highest form and setting a new standard for our spiritual direction. In the next segment this week, I'm going to talk you through the spiritual ascension. Taking a peek at the upcoming week, I coined this week Soul Ascension. In other words, our soul is going to vibrate to a higher perspective, a higher spiritual view. And I argue this is the highest spiritual view your soul has ever taken. That's because of where the outer planets are. We as humans are now ready to move to the next spiritual level. Some of us are ready to take that initiative and become leaders in that new era. And I believe this week, many people will be stepping into that new light. Now, because Venus is retrograde and because Saturn is conjuncting the galactic center, this is likely the direction your soul incarnated on Earth for in the first place. So the steps and the direction you find this week is likely your fate. And this can include any area of your life as far as where you're playing it out. You might be taking steps in your career, taking steps in your marriage, taking steps with your children. But these steps, they represent a spiritual direction and a spiritual ideal that your soul has. And the universe is doing everything it can to reveal that to you if you're paying attention. Now, looking at the week emotionally, the moon is in Libra for the first couple of days, so we're going to be really wishy-washy on Monday and Tuesday, kind of back and forth and not knowing how you feel. And when you combine that with Venus retrograde and Sun in Pisces, people might feel kind of like drunk sailors without having drinking anything, by the way, the first couple of days. So it's not you. On Monday, you're really kind of coming to a clarity about where you believe your spiritual direction should be, or you might be coming to a clarity about what the appropriate action is with a certain situation. And that idea of what's appropriate is, in fact, you on a spiritual level, debating what's appropriate for your spirit and what isn't. So Monday and Tuesday, there's a lot of back and forth. Tuesday, Sun crosses Chiron, so there'll be some real healing. You'll probably be able to look back over your life on Tuesday and see that you've come extremely far. And after you kind of make that notice and you take that time and space to recognize your growth, you'll likely start to see the new door open up as far as where you belong. When we recognize where we have come from, we start to see where we belong to next. And that's really what Tuesday and Wednesday is. Wednesday will be the highest spiritual node of the entire year next to the Sun conjuncting Neptune. And the Sun will be at step 25. It'll be very cloudy. And through the day, you'll come to some further conclusions. You might have some powerful dreams this week. You might have waking visions, lots of deja vu, all these sorts of things just to get you into the right alignment. And the moon moves into Scorpio on Wednesday, so at some point you'll be feeling vulnerable and wanting to draw some lines. Now those lines that you draw, those are you putting your foot down for your spiritual truth. So from Wednesday night to Thursday, there's a lot of putting your foot down and committing. Nope, this is the right thing to do for my soul. This is the right direction. This is the highest vibration that I should take. This is the path of least resistance also is a big part of this particular transit. And so you might find yourself having to put your foot down with others as an example, or it might be a little more difficult to be strong for yourself on Wednesday night, Thursday during the day, but really you're just getting ready to go for the goal. Come Friday, it looks like this is the actual day of what I call ascension, because Venus will be now retrograde to step 9, which means there'll be an action. The Sun is at step 27, which means there's going to be some sort of action. The very next day, Black Lilith moves up a degree, so we start to have new fears come in. So it really tells me that Friday is a day where things will change. So be mindful of your actions on Friday because they're setting some sort of a spiritual precedent. It certainly isn't the day to be your old mean self or your old lower vibration self, even though you might very well be triggered on Friday to pull that part of you out. What the universe is trying to get you to do is step out of the old way of responding to yourself, the old compassionate way or non-compassionate way, and step into a higher way. So sometimes the best action is no action, just so you know, all right? And that is going to be on Friday. So Friday to Saturday, your actions speak louder than your words. Come Saturday, things are very faded, and come Sunday, things start to get really excitable and tested. So this whole week is really you finding, clarifying, committing to where your spiritual intention is, and then at the end of the week, doing some sort of action, some sort of proof, or some sort of ceremony to put that into motion. And once you do, we'll be moving on into Aries the following week, where you'll be securing your ego and basically carrying this spiritual devotion through. Now, I will say this: don't take things too seriously, because Venus retrograde is going to come back into the Pisces energy down to step 28. So you can really call this particular commitment this week a preliminary commitment. You're going to find that you're going to get feedback from the universe. You're going to have responses from people. And this might alter or change some of the degrees or some of the focus of what you're spiritually aiming for. So again, non-judgment. Be easy on yourself. Don't worry about it. And focus on connecting to your higher self. Now, for many of us, I think that's exactly what this transit is. I think many people in this lifetime were born to help and assist with the spiritual shift. And I think this week, you'll start to identify and commit to what your personal role is in this spiritual shift. So this brings me to our tea time topic. There's one more concept I want to throw by you before we leave our spiritual transit. So go steep yourself some tea, and let's have our weekly tea time. Hello, my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is God's little secret. I believe I've come up with one of God's little secret, and I'm going to share it with you. But first, I want to kind of talk about the condition of our planet. Since we're in this high vibration spiritual week, let's talk a moment about where Earth is. We're clearly on the path of some negative times. We're hurting our environment. We seem to be becoming more corrupt. We seem to be becoming more greedy. We seem to be becoming more toxic with chemicals. I think you can agree everything is heading down the wrong path. Not at all where we want to see it. I see very little true indications that things are turning a direction. I believe it's up to us, particularly those people who are interested in walking in the light like myself, to spread this awareness and expand this awareness. And I further believe that we're going to probably have to do this from spirituality. Everyone wants to fix the world with economics, or fix the world with politics, or fix the world with passing laws and legislation. But I really truly believe the only way we're going to fix the world is if we fix ourselves and human beings truly find their own relationship to Spirit and God. In fact, it's God that's technically keeping us apart. The political parties out there and the war profiteers have literally created these holy wars. I think have literally promoted, quote, spiritual terrorism and all these sorts of things. And this is to get people way distracted and very disconnected from actual spirituality and actual God. And they actually are using God to keep us from God in a weird, strange way. Now, because different religions believe different things, as a spiritual light walker, I've thought about this problem. I can't go out and tell you that my God is better than your God or my Bible is better than your Bible. But what I can do, I've realized, is actually help you find your authentic relationship to God, to help people find it. And not just help people find it, but in kind of a scientific way. I do believe it's kind of scientific. That's the 11 steps of serious joy. You follow these 11 steps, your crown is going to open up and you're going to be connected. Now, can you stay connected? That's another story, right? So to me, I think our goal as light walkers and what we do out there from this point forward should be to help enlighten our brother and sisters. Because if we can help enlighten them, they themselves, with Spirit in their own heart, will come to their own truths on their own. That's the great thing about Spirit. If you're really connected to God, in my opinion, you're not killing anybody. I'm sorry. They don't go together at all. It's like electricity and water. You can't be in your heart and talking to God and then hurt something. It will crush your heart. It doesn't work that way. God pretty much built that into the matrix. So how do we get in touch with our heart? How do we get in touch with that truth? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with our psychological relationships we've had with God. And this is what leads me to God's little secret. The little secret. Now, I'll tell you, this came up for me when I read Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch, because I noticed in the book, if you read the book series, that all the time God is constantly saying who you really are. You're here to remember who you really are. You're here to remember who you really are. And when he says that, he capitalizes who, why, and really are. So Neale Donald Walsch just was capitalizing it. And as I was reading it, every time I read that, I got this do kind of feeling, what are they saying? And each time my spirit told me what it meant, I just couldn't believe it. I had to sit and think about it for a while and process it. So this brings me to God's little secret. Here's the secret. Are you ready? The secret is, you are God. And you might go, either two ego reactions. One ego reaction is oh, no, I couldn't possibly be God. That's incorrect. Or the other ego reaction usually is, oh, everybody's God. Of course, we're all a part of God. Of course, God created us if we're a part of God. And that's what I think we are not getting. I am starting to believe, as I explore my higher spiritual faith, and this is in reading all my spiritual scriptures and understanding from different religious perspectives as well. In the book Conversations with God, God says that the only problem being God is he couldn't actually experience what it's like to be God. He couldn't actually play it out. He didn't know what it was like to be God, because he was God. He was everything and all. And so what he said he did was he split himself into countless divisions of himself. So he exploded himself into a billion trillion, rays of light. And each one of these different rays of light, which is an aspect of God, I believe, starts at the very beginning, which is the atom and the electron, not Adam and Eve, you know what I mean? And has grown in consciousness since. So these trillions and billions and, countless divisions of God is actually God slowly waking up and coming back together. To me, that's what the Big Bang, Big Crunch is. It's almost like in the Terminator, in Terminator 2, when that liquid Terminator, and she would just like come right back together. I believe God exploded and is growing back up and slowly realizing in each little aspect that it is in fact God, which means that there'll be one day in 1 trillion lifetimes that you will wake up one morning and suddenly realize, I am God. And those are the words no one is allowed to say, right? In society, I am God. Like, oh no, that person's nuts. That person's crazy. But what's interesting is like when people do certain acid trips, or they also do ayahuasca, or even crazy lunatics, that end up, creating cults, they all reach this point, and it's the same point where they see in their visions, even the common person, that they are God. So think about it that way. I mean, what would mankind do if we all started to realize that we all actually are creator? One day we'll wake up and realize it is creator. As far as I'm concerned, this is like creator did nitrous or something. Like he wanted to go on a trip. So she blew up and is experiencing being human in countless ways, being aliens in countless ways. Basically, this is a little boy or a little girl alone in their playroom that created this experience to experience who they are. So think about that concept as we go through this week, the idea that you may be God. I mean, if you are God and you are just not awakened yet, how does that change how you see everyone? When you see the angry person, the angry religious zealot, it's really just you before you realized it's you, right? Like, it's just a young version of you that hasn't waken up yet. And for those who also realize that they are God, that they are aspects of God, and they are light incarnate, there's mutual respect there too, because that's just me, right? Only I chose a different path in that direction. It's all me. It's all God. It's all one big, perhaps spiritual game that we play. So I think this lightens the load, if you think from these terms. And I only put it out there because I want to have a conversation. I've talked about this, having some more conversations about God, because I think that if people can find a way for their ego to feel good about everything inside and how you are a part of God, but how you are separate, if we can help people find that right chord in a non-religious way, I believe we will begin to truly facilitate healing on earth. The way I'll close is this. If you are God, does that mean anything is in your possibility? What are you capable of? And the answer is you are capable of anything and everything that God has ever imagined, which is a powerful idea. So I hope this wasn't too spacey for you as we end the week, but it is an interesting conversation. Now, speaking of conversations with God, I just found out there's a 4th book coming out, and I can't wait to read it. I'm going to be really excited. So God had some more things to say. I guess from what I hear through the grapevine, it has to do with where civilization needs to go. So Neil Donald Walsh, keep channeling, brother. Some fascinating material there. I have a couple announcements. I will be this weekend. I'm so excited. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Denver Mart. This is the Body, Mind, Spirit Celebration. It is a spiritual conference. I'll have a booth. We have some of our volunteers there. Come up and say hello. Give me a hug. We'll be giving away free readings and a raffle. And I'll be speaking on Saturday at noon. I'm doing a lecture on an introduction to step astrology. So if you're in the Denver, Colorado area, I'd love to see you. If you're not, I do plan to start traveling as soon as I can. I've got to get some things done and on the planet. Well, friend, I hope you have a fabulous week. Pick the highest, most path of least resistance, most loving path for yourself this week as you commit to your higher self. And I will see you next week with more. This week, I will also be continuing my 11 Steps to Serious Choice series. So if you haven't been listening, you really should go back to step 0 at the beginning and catch yourself up. This is powerful material I'm putting on the planet for free to spread the light and help people manifest their dreams. Have a fabulous week, my friend. Remember, I love you. Live, love, be.
soul.